Happy Improvement Week. Welcome into the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Tim May, the 41-year vet, Andy Backstrom, and me, Spencer Holbrook. Buckeyes got the week off. Well, not really the week off. It's an improvement week. Ohio State not taking Tuesday off, not taking Wednesday off, not taking Thursday off. They will go without practice on Friday and Saturday, get a little bit of time to come up for air, but for now, they're going to get back to work, not lose that edge that Ryan Day said they've been playing with. Tim, we just talked to Ryan Day. We just talked to Jim Knowles. What'd you learn?
There's always room for improvement. I wrote that story last week about the defense. Even though you play extremely well, there's always room for improvement. This defense is playing at a very high level. You and I and Anders both, all three, no, I'll just call you Andy, sorry, Andy. You, I, and Anders all know that the competition's ramping up. This is a great stepping stone season, as we talked about on Monday there from the Ohio Stadium. But when you shut a team down like Ohio State did on Saturday night, that's a veteran defense playing like a veteran defense. You follow my drift. There were a few mistakes in that game, but Jim Knowles is right. You know, even though you're shutting a team down, you're exposing yourself occasionally to this guy wasn't covered like he should have been. We saw that when you're watching from the press box. That another team is going to go, we're going to show this motion, but we're going to throw to that guy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean, type thing. So it's a perpetual motion machine right now. But HIW, what'd you call it? HIW, Help Improvement Week?
It's just Improvement Week.
Yeah, it's just Improvement Week. IW is all about that. And there was no clarification from Ryan Day's standpoint of exactly why Denzel Burke was thrown out of the game for that getting hit in the helmet, getting hit in the side of the helmet by the running back or the guy with the ball. Makes no sense to me why Denzel, to this moment, still, and I don't think it does to Ryan Day. I asked him what the coaching point would be on that, and basically said he actually didn't say. He said there wasn't one. Gave him a hug.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well,
I mean, that's a big deal. If that happens against a big-time quality opponent, and I know Jermaine Matthews is very good, but that was a bad call. I'll just leave it at that.
It certainly was, and
bad review.
They didn't get an explanation on it, and if they did, Ryan Day was not happy about it. But
no, he got an explanation, but he didn't like it, clearly.
There's nothing they can really do about it now.
Right, but you want to know, you want your kid, it's a coaching point. Or, this is what you did wrong, and as Jim Knowles said, keep your head up is the main thing. So
What'd you learn, Andy?
I mean, the only coaching point there is that this is a lesson for everyone on the team, that you got to be ready like that. And Jermaine Matthews knows that, because that's what happened last year, and he came in at Purdue. He came in against Penn State. He came in against Rutgers. He did it time and time again. So I think in one way, Ryan Day can be grateful for that moment. Not that Denzel Burke didn't get to play. That's obviously a shame. But that he can use this for his team. More than 80 guys played against Western Michigan. You use that as the teaching moment of, hey, there's a call like that. We might not agree with it. He's definitely not going to agree with it, right?
Yeah.
But he wants his players to be ready like Jermaine Matthews was. So I think talking to these coordinators every time we get to just makes me think how lucky Ryan Day is to have them. They're both so adaptable. Mm-hmm. And one thing Jim Knowles said is there's a lot of things that happen on the field that maybe he can't even see, but especially like the untrained eye can't see. That when you watch back the game, he's almost thinking about what could have happened on certain plays. Maybe big plays that could have broken out for the opposition. And I think for him, he's always trying to get better, always trying to adapt. Chip Kelly's the same way, and I thought it was really fascinating that Ryan Day said that a lot of the scheme stuff and the concepts that Chip Kelly's adding to this offense, we haven't even seen yet. So yes, we've seen some of the speed option. Yes, we've seen some adaptations to the run game with personnel. We talked about the tight ends being added, 13, 14 personnel. But there's other stuff we haven't even seen yet. And I think that's probably the same thing with the defense of Jim Knowles that we haven't even seen yet, and that's because of the nature of the schedule.
Yeah, it's funny because one speed option they ran on Saturday night, I call it the naked speed option because, like I said, Will Howard had the ball out here faking it, but there was no running back. The running back was out here getting ready for the pitch. So, that's an interesting concept. I'm not sure that's exactly the way it was supposed to go down. I'm sure it was, but it's just funny that faking a handoff that can't happen is an interesting concept.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think that the bottom line here is Ohio State's going to get back to work doing things that it sees that a lot of people don't see. I think that's the main lesson that we all take away from this, because there are a laundry list of things that Ryan Day talked about that he wants to see better from this team. Jim Knowles certainly not satisfied despite 99 yards and no points, and I think it's 108 to 6 so far this season, or whatever it's 108 to 6 so far this season. Everything that they're doing this week is the things that you won't see on the TV copy, we won't see on the TV copy, we won't see from the bird's eye view of the press box, you won't see from 34B when you're in the horseshoe.
We haven't seen their red zone defense yet.
That's what I asked Jim Knowles about that. It's interesting. Like, I don't like likening this team to Michigan because a lot of people have in the past, this year, this compared to 2023 Michigan. But like in a certain way, it is because last year I think it was the Penn State game. The first drive of the game, Penn State got into the red zone. It was in like the first week of November, and I think Joe Klatt and Gus Johnson were like, okay, what is Michigan going to do in the red zone? Because we don't know. They hadn't been there yet.
Yeah.
And I got asked on the YouTube channel in the comments by somebody, Ross. If you're watching, Ross, thanks for watching. Said, who's the first team to score a touchdown?
Friends? Ross from Friends?
Yeah, for sure. The archaeologist. Said, or no, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, the dinosaur guy.
Yeah.
He said, who's the first team to score on this team? And I said, probably score a touchdown. And I said, probably Michigan State. But then I got to thinking, like, well, Michigan State only scored on Maryland on big plays. So, like, if this defense isn't going to give up big plays, is Marshall going to score a touchdown? Is Michigan State? I'm just trying to figure out who's going to be in the red zone.
Yeah.
Because the Marshall offense doesn't look fantastic. And the Michigan State offense looks like it's pretty, stop and go, Sparty, more like spurty, because they're in spurts in the way that they play their offense. There we go.
I'm going to steal that one.
For sure. I know you are, Tim. So we're just – and then Iowa is Iowa. So, like, we don't know. We don't know what this defense looks like inside even, like, the 30-yard line, really. So,
but the good point you made, but
Jim Knowles
but
says
then
practice.
They have a little bit of a feel for that because they know they're not getting it, so they're going to be practicing against a really good offense.
Well, he said
You know what I mean?
most weeks they go against scout team. I imagine they'll
I'm
go.
talking about this week.
Yeah, this week.
Self-improvement week or whatever you called it.
This week, Andy, I imagine you have to go good on good, like red zone stuff, because the offense has had a little bit of it, but they haven't really had much of a resistance in the red zone. And then the defense hasn't been there yet because they've been so good. Those are the kind of things that this week you have to hammer down on. You have to make sure that you're getting in because, next week you can prepare for the red zone, but if Marshall doesn't get there, then you still haven't seen it in a game.
Yeah, that's what's interesting because normally in a bye week, you play your second teamers, your third teamers, you get them the reps they haven't gotten in games. We just had more than 80 players play. So a lot of guys have reps in game. And like you said, you do want some of that good on good. So I don't know what the balance there is that they're going to have to strike, but that's Ryan Day's job, right? I thought it was interesting today, though, like a lot of different players on either defense or offense that were talked about. One is C.J. Hicks. Like, what is his role now 2 weeks in? Where does he go? Is he more of a line of scrimmage player? Is he still going to be a linebacker? It sounds like still at linebacker for now, but it's notable that he played fewer snaps than Arvell Reese, than Cody Simon, than Sonny Styles. So where does he go in that pecking order? Because Arvell Reese has clearly climbed up into the top three of that group, and so that's going to be interesting going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, here's the thing about C.J. Hicks. Everybody talking about maybe moving him down onto the edge, into that edge group, edge rusher group. There's one thing to be edge rushing when people sort of aren't expecting it, you know what I mean? And there's another thing of lining up there and now doing your thing. And so that would be a little bit of a transition for him. And number three, they want that depth at linebacker. Linebackers get banged up as the season goes on, and that's what Ryan Day kind of pointed out is that you just want to keep bringing him along. Consistency is continually, or lack of consistency is continually the way they describe his challenge of getting better, and so we'll see where that goes. But it was really funny because Knowles pointed out, the guys they got on the edge right now, including, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, and then Mitchell Melton. Where do you fit another guy in there in a rotation standpoint, except just to fit him in?
Well, and if you're going to fit another guy in, I would suggest trying the true freshman with pterodactyl arms.
Edric Houston.
So, that's another thing to consider. The other defender that...
By the way, real quick, the other challenge coming out of that game on Saturday night for Jim Knowles and his group, they played fewer than 50 plays.
Yeah.
The defense did. In one sense, you want to shut the other team down. In the other sense, you want to get real live game reps.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's really a real balancing act there.
I think that's the most impressive thing about how many guys they played is that they played 48 snaps. So, there's so many guys that played, but nobody really had a high snap count. One guy that I think deserves a higher snap count that is super interesting to me was asked about, I think by Dave Biddle. He asked about Arvell Reese and Caden McDonald. And, Caden, to me, is in the Arvell category. He just doesn't make the flashy plays that Arvell does, so he's not getting talked about in that vein. But, you look at two young guys who probably deserve a little bit more playing time, even in a group that is pretty veteran-laden. I would say the two guys are Arvell, and that's obvious. Everybody can see that by now. and then Caden McDonald, who just eats up blocks, sheds blocks, makes plays. I really like what I see out of him. Jim Knowles been talking him up really since August 1st when this thing kicked off. And now you're starting to see that on the field, Andy. I think he's on an upward trajectory, and it's the same vein as Arville. Maybe not as steep. Maybe like if Arville's here, maybe Caden is like here. But I think you're starting to see it, and I think you're starting to see what Ohio State saw in August.
Yeah, they're both guys that came in the summer last year, made an impact immediately to get on the field as true freshmen, which is hard to do when you come in the summer, and now they're building off of it in year 2. And one thing that Ryan Day keeps saying is that if you're starter level, you will play for this football team. And it's going to be interesting to see with Austin Sareveld, who we seem to believe is still starter level the way Ryan Day is talking about him, with Donovan Jackson coming back. Ryan Day is not ruling out the fact that Austin Sareveld will still play football for this team and
Right.
meaningful snaps. So what does that look like with the rotation? Will he fix in at right guard competing with Tegra Shapola? I'm still looking for clarity from Ryan Day if Tegra's the guy going forward. You know, he was named the week 1 starter and the starter for now until otherwise. But is that a competition?
I thought he played pretty damn good.
It's not a question if he
Saturday
played
night.
good. It's
And
just
number
that
two,
you're looking
like-
for the best.
Yeah, and like with Sareveld, I thought he looked more like a starter on Saturday night than he did against Akron. You know, follow me? I mean, I thought he was much more consistent. That's to be expected, right? You know, and but going back to Caden McDonald, I mean, the beauty of present day, and I'm talking to the folks out there, is you can watch video. You can turn on and do your own little assessment of how guys are playing, but turn on the video, for example, of this past game and watch Caden McDonald play. Just zero in on that guy in the you know,
He's hard to miss.
as the plays go on, and you'll see him causing havoc, you know, creating havoc and being where he's supposed to be. Same thing with Ty Hamilton. I thought Ty Hamilton almost put on a clinic style tape or digital video on Saturday night against Western Michigan. I was stammering there because I couldn't remember who they played, but against Western Michigan, in the sense of what he's expected to do and then doing a little bit extra for a defensive tackle. And boy, when you got a little bit of depth going there in the middle of that defense, which is what these guys are developing very quickly, you got something going for you from a defensive standpoint. And then, like you heard me ask Jim Knowles, I'm going to write about this too, about the Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom duo at safety. You never sleep easy at night when you're a defensive coordinator. Definitely Jim Knowles has admitted to that. But it does give you a little bit of a peaceful feeling knowing you can show guys like that something once or twice and they get it. Mm-hmm. You can change on the fly with some guys like that and they get it. And like we talked about on Monday, these guys are so active. You haven't even seen it all.
Yeah.
But they're so active coming forward when they definitely have a feel for what the play is all about, which takes sometimes, some guys takes them 3 seconds, some guys it takes them 0.3 of a second to figure it out. These two guys are in that 3 to 5/10 of a second area, and that is so huge for this defense moving forward.
If you'd like to see those two in action, if you'd like to see the entire Ohio State roster in action against Marshall, obviously not playing this week, stay at home, watch football, do whatever you need to do, or you can go to a different game. You know, Cincinnati, Miami, at Miami, nice little rivalry game, the end of that rivalry. If you want to go see, I don't know, Georgia, Kentucky, you want to see, I don't know, I think the Backyard Brawls this weekend, Pitt, West Virginia, hop on 70, head across the way. Go to the Game Time app and gametime.co. It's the place to get your tickets. Use the promo code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. That's right, ON3, ON3 at gametime.co, or use the Game Time app. Get $20 off your first purchase. You can do that, or you can sit on your you-know-what at home and watch football all day like this guy's going to do. And then you can go to the Ohio State Marshall game next week and use the $20 off there. So $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app or gametime.co. Tim May, he uses it. Andy Backstrom, he uses it. I use it for concerts, for sports, for I don't really know what else you buy tickets
Tractor
for.
pulls.
Yeah, sure. I know a thing or two about tractor pulls. I know you do too, Tim.
Auto
I don't know
racing
about Andy. He's an
events.
East Coast guy. But anything you need tickets for, go to the Game Time app, gametime.co. ON3 is the promo code to get $20 off your first purchase. Two last things before we get out of here. Speaking of safety, depth. Jim Knowles feels like they're building the depth. He said just yes when asked if Jalen McLean and Malik Hartford had shown him that they can play and if they're building that depth. And he just said yes. Then he gave a little bit of an answer, but I thought it was interesting that he just goes, yes, and then had the pause. I don't know. He's just very matter of fact this year compared to the last couple years that we've gotten to know Jim Knowles. And then the other thing is that Ohio State is evaluating all options when it comes to kick return. They believe Jaden Ballard had a good offseason. They believe Jaden showed them he can be the kick returner. But then he makes them start a drive on the 6-yard line on Saturday night because of a miscommunication on a kickoff. And then late in the fourth quarter, he puts the ball on the turf on a punt return.
Yeah.
Can't do that. So 2 blunders in the game. And, we don't like to pick on individual guys here, but Ryan Day said they're evaluating this now because they've got to figure out who's the most reliable guy back there on kick return.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, special teams, they've been hammering home since the offseason started.
Yep.
And they've been mostly good on special teams, but it's those few moments, even the first kickoff of the season, they felt like they could have busted that one open maybe for a touchdown, and that didn't happen. That's not, of course, just on Jaden Ballard, but he's part of that group as the kick returner. So definitely evaluating that. I think one thing that's also interesting is that it's going to be harder as the season goes on to get more of these guys involved. And Ryan Day really harped on the fact that for morale, it's great to get all these guys in. And he's talking about how he's got to get players into the game late in the season in pivotal moments, like even the quarterback position. I thought it was interesting today. He was saying we need a backup quarterback playing meaningful snaps in big games. And I'm assuming he's talking about Big Ten play and wanting to get guys in the second half when the game's, not at stake, right? But where you can still play real snaps.
Yeah.
And I think it was really good to see Devin Brown get 2 drives, lead a touchdown drive, complete all 5 of his passes. It was good to see Julian Sayin in there throw his first touchdown pass. That is still got to be something that they build on. That can't just be like a week 2 thing that was great and hey, pocket that. They got to keep building that, because if there is a time that it needs to be delivered and needing to step up as the starter, if Will Howard is, God forbid, injured, then they need to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought that was valuable on Saturday night. I mean, and the thing about it is, I think if people aren't paying attention, Ohio State's going to keep running its offense. For example, when those guys go in, as opposed to buttoning it up like when Quinn Ewers went in for 2 plays? Yeah, just handed off 3 plays and handed off when he was here long ago. I like the fact that they kept throwing the ball in some respects, but of course the play with Julian Sayin's touchdown pass, that was you had to throw the ball pretty much on that down, right? And just the way he got out on the edge and hit Bennett Christian right dead in stride, turns it up the sideline. What a beautiful play that was, whether it was the beginning of the game or the end of the game. And if you have any problems with that as a fan or a coach on the other team, what did Ryan Day say one time in reaction to what Jim Harbaugh said said about something? He said, "Hey, you coach your team, I'll coach mine." And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to give them meaningful snaps, even though getting to 56 to nothing. Not sure what it means, except that you are going against somebody who has schemed against you as opposed to your own defense.
I also think that there's something to be said for you just paid this team like $1.5 million, so they need to get their $1.5 million worth. Whereas in the Big Ten, I don't know how much more you're throwing the ball compared to the fact that you're paying this team to come play and then in non-conference action, and then you're going to play till the fourth quarter. I think we kind of see that sometimes where in non-conference play, you're more susceptible to throw the ball with the 3rd string and the 4th string than you are in Big Ten play, just because, I don't know, I think there's a little bit more respect there.
It's pretty interesting because I remember John
You know what I mean?
Yeah, John Cooper once said when Tennessee, when they would play Tennessee Chattanooga, for example, he was just making this up, but he said, they're paying them $40,000, and we'll pay you $10,000 more if you run the wide tackle 6 defense. You know what I mean? So these games all have their purpose, but it's going against real competition. Let's just put it that way.
Ohio State's going to go against some pretty stiff competition on both sides of the ball this week themselves, because this is one of the best offenses in the country, which will go against one of the best defenses in the country, and flip that, one of the best defenses in the country now has to defend one of the best offenses in the country all week. It's called improvement week for a reason. Ohio State's going to make the most of it. It is not taking this week off. I know everybody else gets to take Saturday off of yelling at their screen and telling us that we're wrong in the Lettermen Lounge, which we love when you guys do that, and make sure to go there. But, we all get the week off. Ohio State not taking the week off. They're going to be in this building working really hard. Tim May, the 41-year vet, Andy Backstrom, Spencer Holbrook. We're going to go back to work at LettermenRow.com. We're going to provide that coverage like we do 365 days a year. We're not going to take this week off either. It's an improvement week for everybody. We're looking at the film, seeing what we can do better. I think this week, this video is pretty good. We'll be back on Wednesday with another one as we break down this improvement week for the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's just Tim. That's just Andy. I'm just Spencer. You guys are the reason that we get to do this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like the video below. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. It helps us out a lot. Go to lettermenrow.com. Get a membership right now. We'll see you guys over there at lettermenrow.com. We'll see you guys on Wednesday on the YouTube channel for another breakdown of the Buckeyes.